Hey, everybody. I'm Kyle Kramer, CEO at the Earth and Spirit Center. I'm joined here in person, which is kind of a first for some of these promo video recordings, with Dr. Chris Schrodt. Hello, Chris.
Hi, how you doing, Kyle?
Good. We were sort of framing this in the camera, and we realized something has come between us, which is that poll. So forgive the sort of low-tech, low-brow production quality of this, folks. But we're here, Chris, to chat for just a few minutes about this upcoming course you have this spring. It's called The Eightfold Path, the Buddhist Way to Awakening. Yes. So you have been a Buddhist practitioner for a long time. We want to hear a bit about that. But we're especially excited about A, having you back in the classroom, and B, having a class that is, very specific about the Eightfold Path, not sort of like generic secular mindfulness, but the origins of mindfulness, the deep origins of mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition. So before we talk about the class and who it would be good for and when it happens and all of this, let's talk about Chris. So tell our viewers here a little bit about your background, both professionally and in terms of your Buddhist practice.
So started to get interested in meditation when I was quite young. My older siblings were meditating. I was 15, and when I was 15, I started to do actually transcendental meditation. And did that for several years on a daily basis, found it incredibly useful and helpful. Then I ended up at the University of Kentucky, and when I was there, started to practice mindfulness meditation. One of my philosophy professors there, who's a very well-known Buddhist teacher now, Donald Rothberg, taught me how to do mindfulness practice. And from there, over the next several years, I did fairly intensive meditation practice, and then have continued to kind of practice through the years, working with various teachers. Ended up going to medical school, and finally did my residency in psychiatry at the University of Massachusetts, where I was able to be an intern under John Kabat-Zinn. So was able to have him mentor me some. I was taught how to do mindfulness-based stress reduction from him, and then have continued to kind of integrate mindfulness and meditation into my psychiatry practice, and have been able to also then, thanks to you guys here, be able to teach meditation, mindfulness, primarily in kind of a Buddhist context, though because of my background in psychology, I integrate a lot of kind of Western psychology into it. So that's kind of the thumbnail.
Well, I've heard many good things about how you've done that. I mean, I've heard good things about you as a teacher, of course, but also about how you integrate this into your clinical practice. So it's good to know that mindfulness is providing you and your patients with some really practical tools for having a good life. And surfing the waves in the tree posts on the surfboard, as we were joking about before we started recording. So let's talk about this course in particular. I want to make sure I get the details right. So I'm looking at my notes here. This course, again, it's called The Eightfold Path, the Buddhist Way to Awakening. It's a 6-week course. It's going to be held on Thursday evenings from 7 to 8:30, starting March 13th. So we'll put links and everything. But what do you hope to accomplish with your students in these 6 weeks in this course?
So it's an introductory course, and there will be an emphasis on learning the basics of mindfulness meditation practice. But unlike a lot of courses, this is going to put it into, I think, the historical context of where mindfulness meditation comes from. One of the issues I think I've had with a lot of how mindfulness is being taught is that it's taught kind of as a freestanding exercise, which has benefit, but by removing it from kind of the full context of the tradition, and specifically other aspects of Buddhist practice that help facilitate meditation, I think it loses some of its power. In fact, what we'll talk about in the course is how other aspects of the Eightfold Path specifically facilitate deepening of meditation practice. It's not something that's really talked about a whole lot, which is how to use certain ways to think about the world, and actually certain behaviors you should live in your life, which will facilitate your
Right. So
meditation
right
practice.
livelihood, right speech,
Right view, yeah,
yeah.
right speech, and we'll go into those. You know, it is kind of an introductory course. We won't go into a lot of depth. I mean,
Yeah.
each, you know, we could teach a course on each of the
Yeah.
Eightfold Path.
Oh,
You
the
know,
Buddhist lists. Oh, the
lots
Buddhist lists.
lots of lists. But it'll give people, I think, a background and really probably strengthen their practice, even if you have been practicing, hopefully strengthen your practice in even a different way. Again, I will be teaching introductory meditation.
Right.
And we'll go through kind of the foundations of meditation. But again, I think putting into this newer context will be really useful for people,
Okay,
even
so-
if you already know how to meditate.
Okay, so one of the first things I heard there was both beginners and more experienced meditators are both welcome.
Yes.
And they can each find something of help to them. And then the other question I want to ask is, does one need to be a Buddhist or an aspiring Buddhist to benefit from this class? If one is Hindu or Jewish or Christian or Muslim, is this going to be a helpful course, or how would one integrate that if Buddhism is not one's like chosen faith tradition?
Yes. Well, here's what's interesting is, you know, I mean, I've been a Buddhist practitioner for, you know, almost
Decades,
50,
yeah.
almost 50 years now. So it's really, you know, I have trouble even conceptualizing Buddhism as religion and kind of the way we think of religion in kind of Western society. I mean, it's a prescription of kind of, you know, lifestyle and behavior changes to kind of lead to the end of suffering.
Right.
And it really fits into really any context. And I think it
has like a philosophical system, more so than say its rituals and worship practices.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And in fact, you know, I think the way it's taught, it's really been pulled completely out of that. I think there's usefulness to know some other aspects of the Buddhist tradition. But the interesting thing about Buddhism is really not about believing things. I mean, there are some Buddhist traditions where there is much more ritual and you know, but in the sense of, you know, needing to believe something, one of the things that drew me to Buddhism, even when I was quite young, is that it's very empirical, and I tend to be kind of a empirical scientific kind of guy. Right. And it's really one of those things where, you know, the instructions are things that you're kind of given to explore and try out to see if they are helpful or work for you. And we'll talk about that in the course of, there are many different ways that people can practice that don't even involve meditation, that can help one kind of on a path to kind of ending suffering. So,
well, I love that as kind of a sales pitch for a class like this and a tradition like this, that it'll work. You know,
and if it doesn't, I tell people don't do it.
Right. I mean, ultimately, any sort of spiritual tradition or spiritual practice, it should help you navigate your life better. And if it doesn't, then
try something different.
Right. Something amiss. Okay, so again, the course is the Eightfold Path, the Buddhist Way to Awakening. I think that's the third or fourth time I've said that. It's going to start in March, Thursday evenings. Folks can learn more on our website, earthandspiritcenter.org, at a link that will accompany this video, which goes to the particular web page associated with this class. And Chris, I just want to thank you again. It's great to have you back. Oh, one remaining question. What can folks expect of any given class session? Obviously, I hear you saying that you're going to deliver some content about the spiritual background. So some lecture there, content delivery. What we're going to practice meditation as well?
Yes, pretty much every class there'll be a chance for questions.
Okay.
And there'll be some homework for every class. So we'll talk about that at the beginning of the next class.
Okay.
There'll be, you know, a didactic part where, you know, I'll kind of share information and people can ask questions even during that. And then we'll do some meditation.
Okay.
instruction in every class.
Awesome. All right. Well, Chris, we are very much looking forward to it.
Great.
Good to see you in
Thanks,
person.
Kyle.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.